All right, we are back, episode 102 of the Off the Record on the Rocks podcast. We are coming back, leading things off with crazy Sam Altman, Elon Musk, and OpenAI. That's kind of fallen out of the news. Google making some headlines. We got a lot to get to on this episode, including all of the dropped SEC, like full reboot here in DC. No doubt we'll talk about Elon and Doge and the $5,000 tax credits coming our way. The one that stuck out to me of all this stuff that we're hearing is the SEC dropping all these cases. So here we are in February, and we've got Bitcoin hearings happening on Capitol Hill tomorrow. Cynthia Loomis at the Digital Asset Subcommittee will hold the first hearing tomorrow. And meanwhile, the Securities Exchange Commission is just left and right dropping cases against Uniswap, dropping cases and dismissing cases against Robinhood, against Ripple, against Coinbase. Brian Armstrong from Coinbase basically taking a bit of a victory lap on Twitter, posting videos like saying we've come to this agreement with the SEC in I don't forget what the term he used, but they're going to dismiss it. So now what? Free market.
I mean, well, that's to capture all of that, just to catch all that rain in my hands before I just start drinking from it, because it feels like just pennies falling from heaven. We have been recording now for multiple years. We're up over 100 episodes, and we have covered this iron fist that has been wielded by Gary Gensler, the head of the SEC, as he has gone down the hallway, pounding on doors and extracting money in the form of fines and in the form of lawsuits across the boards. Let's not forget library. Remember the library token that was famously...
Grab a drink. It's time for another episode of Off the Record on the Rocks. Join Michael Toner and Ankarina Lara as we discuss the latest in all things Web3, AI, metaverse, and crypto. Tune out the noise and turn up the signal as we pour ourselves into the future. Better make mine a double.
Just completely taken down because it was considered an illegal security. Every celebrity was charged huge fines. The SEC was, and people would say in the crypto world, like we would say, well, there's enforcement by regulation, and this is not okay. This is anti-American, it's anti-innovation, and why is it that our SEC is focusing on these up-and-coming startups and being punitive to us, right? When will it end? When will it end? Is Gary Gensler bad? Is he good? We don't know, but we definitely don't like him anymore. All of a sudden, it's as if someone just turned over that little card on the table. Have you ever been to a Brazilian steakhouse? There's a little card on the table. One side's red, one side's green. We had the red side up. There's no meat coming to the table. And then Gary went up to go to the bathroom. Someone turned that card upside down. And now there is so much filet mignon and salchicha and everything just pouring on the table. They even said in the article, we are no longer going to enforce by regulation. We are dropping all these cases. Now, out of one side of their mouth, just so our listeners know, it's not like they just went away cold. They definitely said, okay, we're going away, but you got to pay a little fine. So I want to say Coinbase had to pay 45 mil. I want to say Ripple had to pay some little amount, but not in those multi-billion-dollar fines that we were hearing before. More just like, hey, we're sorry, you're sorry, just pay us for the time and off you go. And now clear the deck. I hope you're hungry because the meat keeps coming. And now anything is possible. The SEC is now announcing. Remember, they wouldn't even announce that they were reviewing a proposal in the old days.
That's
but now the news is the news is not even there's a date in the future when this is supposed to happen. The news is just, hey, we received an email. The email came from Ripple. This email came from Solana. This email came from God knows who for Ethereum. And we're reviewing it, everyone. The markets are just starting to climb. It has been the exact opposite. It has been famine. And now there is so much meat pouring off the table. People they're like hungry hippoing, trying to get as much as they can. The question is, how much can you get before this administration goes away? How
Well,
much can you get in 3 years?
in the past 7 days, the amount of ETF applications, NASDAQ seeking SEC approval for grayscale Polkadot ETF. We have not talked about
Polkadot.
Polkadot getting an ETF as an altcoin ETF applications. You're talking Solana ETFs. I mean, XRP ETFs. These electronic traded funds or products that were completely banned. They're not allowed. The SEC wouldn't even look at the application. And now they're saying we've got all these applications, and there is a substantial volume of ETF applications in the past 7 days from all of these altcoins, which is interesting to me. We're recording here on Tuesday, the 25th. There's blood in the streets today. Just as we're watching, speaking of the polka dots, the dots on the Michael Saylor BTC purchases. But today, you're seeing the quote headlines of Bitcoin crashing from 100,000 to 85,000. And in fact, CZ has a great tweet. I'll have to send this to you. He called this in 2020. There's a timestamp tweet from CZ that says, "I can't wait to see the headlines. BTC crashes from 100,000 to 85,000." Well, today it did, which is interesting to me. You're seeing this blood in the streets, but out the other side, you're seeing Bitcoin digital asset hearing on Capitol Hill, SEC inviting, send us your ETF applications, send us your altcoin ETF applications. And now all of a sudden there's this real nice sweet spot here. Time to buy?
It's time to buy. Look, we've long moved past saying, and we talked about this in previous episodes, we were required by our podcasting outlets to say things like not financial advice. But when that card got turned over at the Brazilian steakhouse and every ETF was allowed in the door, you better believe that is no longer exists. If you're going to have a meeting on Capitol Hill and you're going to be talking about cryptocurrencies, it is to your benefit to have it in a bit of a price slump, because you got not only set this position of, well, because this market has its ups and downs, we need to work together to create, a path forward, a strategy as a country, and how we're going to be managing, if we are going to create a digital reserve of currencies, whether it's Bitcoin and other things. Then you want to come in at a point where you show that this doesn't in any way spook you. Let's not refer, these words spooking or whatever. Why does a market come down when there is nothing but inflows? We're talking almost just billions of dollars every week that are supposedly inflowing into these spot ETFs, but there's also these outflows. Well, it would stand to reason that if you say, all of a sudden, everyone, you were only thinking about two things. You were thinking about Bitcoin and you were thinking about Ethereum. Well, gosh, the price of Bitcoin and Ethereum sure looks nice as it's going up and up and up. But as soon as you say, hey, everyone, you might like those two things, but look over here. We have this whole plurality of opportunities of these new tokens. Some of them are real tokens. Some are derivatives of tokens. Let's not forget the CFTC just said, don't forget about us. We want to sell futures on commodities. What's the commodity? Well, it's the Solana, and we can sell you a future. Is it an ETF? No, it's a future. Here's another thing. So when you look at the outflows, it makes perfect sense. All that money is coming in, but we call this sideways movement. The money is staying in crypto. It's just not staying in one place for very long. So you set this stage of, we have a market now. We have a whole bunch of choices. Now we're on Capitol Hill talking about it. We're in a retracement that matches all of the technical analysis that CZ called 4 years ago. And frankly, a lot of people have been calling lately, right? It can go to 100, it can come down 15% and then start popping again. You start to demonstrate that you're calling it, hosting these meetings, you are controlling it, maybe partially because you have all these ETFs and these other products. But if you can control that narrative and control the price, well, God, you can set any legislation you want. So to me, this feels like the perfect setup, the perfect table set to come in and to have America and the US and all of our policy and doctrine be what guides the rest of the world as we build out effectively an economy 2.0 while we're running, the currently largest economy in the world at the same time.
Well said. I mean, so that I think is the main takeaway, that these headlines, this kind of second wave of FUD in the street, even in 2025, it's only February. We're only 2 months in, and there's been kind of two big, waves. I think it was back in January where we hit another retracement and it came down again, Bitcoin specifically below 90K, before hitting that all-time high. Look, I think that is the lesson. Michael Saylor and his dollar cost averaging at the $1 billion mark. It's still dollar cost averaging. He's just buying it on the up, on the down, because over time, the long term, and he's been talking about this like crazy in the news, that it's durability, that this money, this digital money, this new cryptocurrency, this new digital currency is going to last 1,000 years. And you start to think about that and you're like, and he says there's been no money ever invented by humans that could potentially even think about lasting 1,000 years. And he's talking about paper dollar bills. He's talking about the existing legacy systems, the way we conduct business, the 7 to 10 day banking holds, the why do we still mint pennies, which Coinbase did an entire marketing campaign, television commercials about the inefficiency of the penny. And what do we hear even here in 2025? That the Treasury Department isn't going to be making pennies anymore. So the financial advice is, exactly, if you're in it for the long term, you can't watch the daily price action. You have to think about and have the conviction and the understanding of what this decentralized currency truly means for the future of our economy, not just the US economy, the global economy, which may be a great segue there into the famous rug pulls now of global leaders. And I'm not talking about Trump. I don't know if you want to unpack this story.
Yeah, I mean, so the rug pull. I mean, the part about this that is so messy is that I feel like we're getting these little warnings, these little flares that someone's shooting off in the distance. Is letting us know, hey, down the road there may be a skirmish that you're not prepared for. Because I'm starting to have a little mixed opinion about this, the way these rug pulls are going. So just for our audience, what is a rug pull? A classic rug pull is you create a token called an altcoin. You name it something really funny and of the moment. You name it the Kendrick Lamar halftime show token or coin, and you start to sell it through an exchange. And it's really easy to do this today. You can copy paste code from an existing altcoin and then rename it and then mint it. It's very, very easy. At last count, I think we talked about this a couple episodes ago, it's up near 10 or 11 million coins that are out there, right? And this just starts to exponentially increase as people just keep copying and pasting to capture these memes, right? These altcoins. They're also these meme coins. So you do that. Maybe you end up selling millions of dollars worth of it. And since you're the owner of the project, the coin, you can then just divest yourself of all of it at any moment you want, and then just shut down, or just disappear this token and stop, using it, backing it, or anything it. What is the net result of that? Well, you effectively, if you've done enough transactions and converted your token into maybe Ether or Bitcoin or other currencies, and then you can go to your bank and extract it from there. Well, you just made a whole bunch of real world money because a whole bunch of people you don't know believed in you and you robbed them. Okay. This is a rug pull. You pulled the rug out from under them and they fell on the ground. So that's going to be happening out of someone's dorm room, right? Well, it can also apparently happen out of the executive branch of a country. So we've seen our own president create a meme coin. It's called, I want to say, $Trump coin, which is on the Solana blockchain, right? You have to pick a blockchain. A lot of them are on Ethereum, a lot of them are on Solana, but this is a layer 2 coin that at any moment, in theory, the president of the United States could just sell all of his stake in it, take all the money, and basically bottom out this coin to zero. Would he want to do that? Probably not while he's still president. But could he possibly do that when he's not president? Of course. Should he? Probably not, but who knows? That's the future, right? So we don't know what the future is going to hold. So a month ago, who goes down to Argentina? Brian Armstrong from Coinbase. Why is that interesting? Because Coinbase was given the green light to go to Argentina and debut Coinbase's services in this South American country, which is really infamous for having one of the most inflated, up and down, manipulated economies in the world, right? You hear about wheelbarrows of cash to go buy bread type of stories, right? So he goes down there to set up Coinbase in Argentina. About 3 to 4 weeks later, the president Milei launches a coin called Libra and takes all this money from ostensibly Argentinians, but then I guess anybody else who'd want to buy it, and then rug pulls and does so like right before he takes a trip to Washington to meet with the president of the United States. So I haven't unpacked anything. I actually just gave the details of the narrative. Now I ask you, what is going on? Because now he's being sued for the rug pull, but how do you sue a sitting president of a country who's already been dragged through through the morass of having an overinflated economy and of being accused of manipulation? And why is Coinbase down there advising them?
Yeah, I don't know, but what I will say is that it is so interesting to know that Trump and now Milei, I don't know if there's other examples of other world leaders who are on the docket to launch their meme coin. But it is this modern day money laundering scheme at the highest global level, meaning if you're an international leader and you wanted to influence Trump, it's very difficult. You heard about this during the first administration where Chinese leaders, buying hotel rooms at Trump Tower here in Washington, or like buying up his real estate. You've seen this from Russian oligarchs. Like they try to find ways to win favor with other leaders but you can't do it in an open market because then you would know, like, they're just giving him money. They're just buying him out. But on the blockchain, you can now tout the full transparency of the chain. Look, it's a token. Anyone can buy it. But it also means any anonymous buyer on the other end can anonymously, let me stick with this script for a moment, anonymously buy $100 million of Trump token. And then as long as I'm standing next to you and I show you the receipt on my device and I have the hashed transaction on the blockchain, I can prove to you in a private setting, hey, that was me. I'm the one who sent you that 100 million. Now do what I say. And now you've got a whole new instrument of the World Bank, a whole new instrument of World Economic Hitmen, a whole new way of making countries indebted to you, which may be exactly what was happening with Milei. That's a bold way out there, but
I know I like this one because look, in the new world of the economic hitman, we talk about this. The IMF, International Monetary Fund, World Bank, they go to countries that are distressed and give them loans that they know they can't actually pay back to keep them under their control. But what you just described makes so much sense.
You can wash it in the open.
You can wash it in the open because there are so many quote unquote whales in crypto, and all a whale is the majority owner of a certain amount of a single coin. But if you're the creator of the coin, then by definition you are the whale. And so if you had a few of those whales around, like you said, if I needed to purchase the influence or, at least maybe, or maybe the negligence of a world leader, like, don't look over here, here is some Libra coin, or, hey, help me do this, here's some Libra coin. I think that might be exactly what's happening, especially considering that it is Coinbase who the SEC has dropped every case against. Why would they do that? Because they want to use them as their new operators. Let's talk about agents and operators. The new agent, the new operator. What's the new agent? Well, in this case, the new agent is Brian Armstrong, or maybe some of the bots he's deploying. And what are the operators? Well, the operator might be this new Libra coin or other ways of creating basically value out of thin air and then using it to manipulate markets. And on the heels of that, another little element which I think is really important is there are other ways that are perhaps they're more in the open, but maybe even more obfuscated in a weird way. And that is that we've talked a lot about in the last month on the show about these sovereign wealth funds and how the United States is going to create a sovereign wealth fund. We learned that almost half of the United States, 25 of them, have sovereign wealth funds for their state level. And we know these other countries do. But who recently came into the news at the same time that you have Melee in Washington being charged with fraud by his own central bank and his own lawyers? Of course, the central banks who are charging the fraud, right? They're the ones being cut out of the deal. But then you have the Abu Dhabi Sovereign Wealth Fund coming in and saying, hey, Mr. Fink, we really are excited about your BlackRock spot Bitcoin ETF, and we want to buy $500 million of that. How is it that Abu Dhabi buys $500 million of spot Bitcoin ETF and the price of Bitcoin goes down? Like think about just the logic
they sold it to
puzzle.
them at a price.
They don't tell you how much they sold
Right.
it for, right? That's the part that no one talks about. They bought $500 million worth of Bitcoin. At what price? They could have sold to them at $70K. They sold to them at a nice discount, which
Right.
then brought the market down.
Right.
What we're not seeing, but we're seeing to your point is people are being deployed. Agents, both digitally and human agents, are being deployed to foreign countries. We have people from BlackRock in Abu Dhabi. We have people from Coinbase in Argentina, and they are extracting $500 million, billions of dollars of value and bringing it into United States controlled asset funds. And in so doing, because of the volume, are able to suppress the price for retail investors like you and I and those people listening to our podcast. So we are seeing real world. We talk about the days of not financial advice are so far gone. The rails are off. We are back to guys riding ponies with spurs on into towns. And there's a sheriff. And you might have to go talk to that sheriff. And you might have to go shoot him dead.
Well, right now that sheriff is Elon Musk, and I'm going to pull this whole theory that we've got going all the way back around to the headline I saw just the other day, which is Musk and Trump are trying to get physical access to Fort Knox to audit the gold. Have you seen this?
No, this is new. I love it.
This is good. Google this one while I'm going. But they are putting this out there into the ether, into the world headlines, just as we're seeing this price tank, all this other action happening, all this distractionary stuff happening. They are trying to put this one out there. I mean, this is in and of itself another distraction, that they want to go check and audit Fort Knox to see if the physical gold is there. And guess what? I can picture the video now. The doors swing open at Fort Knox, and it is empty.
and that is, I mean, for those who are old or listening to the podcast, it reminds me of the Geraldo Rivera opening Al Capone's vault at Alcatraz, and they found like 2 beer bottles and like a mouse. No. I mean, and the headlines are, they want access to Fort Knox to, quote, see if to ensure the gold has not been stolen. We're not even suggesting that there might not have ever been gold there. We're saying it's been stolen, because if there isn't enough gold there, obviously it's been stolen. And so here's where we're going to see my prediction, because you and I know that the United States have went off the gold standard a long time ago, right? This went off the gold standard when our parents were young. So there has not been dollar for dollar troy ounces of gold for our lifetimes. So there is no scenario where if whatever the number or the amount of troy tonnage of gold you think should be in Fort Knox, whatever that number is, I can guarantee you that whatever actually is in there is far less than it would actually be, because the amount of dollars that we have been printing just in the stimulus 1 and stimulus 2 check is trillions of dollars, and there's not that much gold. So this is like one of those fait accomplis. You set up this magic trick. I'm going to saw the girl in half, And then you do. It's like, hey, someone stole all the gold. Oh, look, they did.
All the gold's gone. Now what happens? Now what happens? And you just said stimmy. You just mentioned the stimulus check. So we open up Fort Knox. Let me play out the timeline here.
Yes.
It's February. We're going to get Cynthia Loomis. We're going to start the digital asset, the sovereign wealth fund. We're going to buy Bitcoin from Michael Saylor at a discount. We probably already are. Another point driving down that free market price. They're going to go into Fort Knox maybe here in the next couple of weeks. They're going to open up the doors. There's not going to be any gold. Right around tax time, they're going to announce this Doge stimulus. Doge in and of itself is a meme coin. It is a meme coin. So when we give you the Doge stimulus, don't worry about all the gold that's stolen. Guess why? We've now got a digital asset strategic reserve, and we've saved enough money out of the government to now give every American $5,000. What is the equivalent in Doge? Because that's how they'll announce it. It won't be framed as a cryptocurrency. It won't be positioned as we're giving you Doge back to you, literally the coin, the meme coin. But that is exactly what it is. The gold is gone. We're all going to get some kind of stimmy, because if the gold is gone and people start panicking about the dollar, but all of a sudden I got a $5,000 check coming my way, I'm headed down to the mall. I don't care. I don't care about the gold.
But I mean, it's the classic foil, like you said. It's the classic distraction. You know, if you pull all the levers at once, we talked about this many, many times, that this current administration is very good at pulling a lot of levers at once. What does that mean? Well, this lever here is the one I pull to start talking about AI controlling the nukes. This lever here is the one I talk about how we're sending emails to all the government employees telling them to justify their job in 5 bullet points as to what you did last week. Then we're going to pull this lever and say, well, we're going to go ahead and fire 3 of the 6 joint chiefs of staff and put podcasters in their place. Now we're going to pull this lever and we're going to say, oh, we need to go see if the gold's been stolen. Now we're going to pull this lever and say, well, you know, I think that we had the dictator title wrong. It wasn't Putin, it was Zelensky all along. Now we're going to pull this lever, and you just keep pulling levers so that there are so many new machines and gears spinning that if you come in and say, this is chaotic, help me make sense of it, well, then I can decide which levers to turn off to make you feel better. And there's this lever over here which says, remember when we pulled that one and gave you Stimmy 1 and then pulled that one and gave you Stimmy 2, and how everyone was so happy, even though they had to shelter in place, stand 6 feet apart, and DoorDash McDonald's and not tell anybody? Well, here's this lever over here that's really big and shiny. It's got a little smiling dog face on it. Bang. There's no gold in Fort Knox. We open the doors, but there's 5,000 good old US of A American dollars coming to you. And this is going to help you buy, if you'd like, some gold, because we're actually selling gold to refill Fort Knox. And we have gold bonds, we have gold futures, we have all these new gold products.
Solana ETFs or
Solana
futures.
ETFs, Solana futures, gold ETFs, gold futures. We have all of this stuff for you. So if you're not comfortable with digital, here's $5,000. You don't have to buy Bitcoin. Go buy some gold. Here's $5,000. Go buy some gold for your family. And that is exactly what you're saying. The smoke screen of all of this, the celebritization of, like, the people who are the guards at Fort Knox. They're going to be profiling the people who work there. Or is anyone going to be there when they come, or did they fire all of them by accident? Maybe there's no one even there to open the door. There's like this great intersection of so many swirling stories. This one couldn't have been more perfect for while we're recording today, to be honest. This was outrageous.
It is a good way to tie it all up. The other one that popped for me, I think we mentioned Michael Saylor. I mentioned about this hearing taking place, but this is a headline from Yahoo Finance from yesterday. Michael Saylor meets SEC's new crypto task force to discuss U.S. regulations. So now we've got the man himself, the man of the hour, and I think he will continue to be a central figure while we are trying to find the gold. Oh, guess who had it all? Michael Saylor. It's digital gold now. I mean,
well, and it couldn't be. He's just being teed up.
Yeah.
To just tee it high and let it fly down the fairway, Mr. Saylor, because we taught all along who would be the perfect person to be the consultant / leader of our new Bitcoin digital reserve. Who better than someone who has demonstrated with his receipts publicly that he just keeps buying Bitcoin. And if you do the math, he would, I think, have more than the more digital gold than actual gold that's in Fort Knox.
That's a great way to put it. I also did notice, if you haven't checked out the new strategy.com, I mean, they were ready to go with this thing. It's just incredible to me. You don't just rename, and we caught it here on the show, that first press release before they had announced the new name, where they were putting the Bitcoin Treasury Company. Bitcoin Treasury Company, BTC. Now, when you go to their website, the whole homepage is literally the numbers. It is literally the receipts of what his dollar cost average price per coin, which he's averaging like at a 40K. When you average it out over, he's buying it at 100K, he's buying it at 40K. Comes out to he's right at around 40. So he's bought it significantly less than 40 to get to that. But to me, he's putting it right on the homepage. There's the receipts. There's the money. There's the Fort Knox. You're staring at it on strategy.com. You can see the live digital gold audit right there on his website.
And I think about, too, just to pull back some of these international threads in, and maybe just we can put a punctuation mark on this with some AI talk at the end here, because AI and our ability to utilize AI for the purpose of furthering this new economy is going to be critical, right? The algorithms, which have been running as, quote, black boxes for the traditional stock market, are early AI, effectively, right? They are agents who act like traders overnight when you're sleeping, and they follow your rule sets, your ifs and your thens, your little couplings. Well, we were talking about Hong Kong, China, of these different countries where there are these test zones, these playgrounds. How can you test new financial products, new digital products in China if China's regulation is so stringent? Oh, well, we'll do it in Hong Kong. How do we test Coinbase's new outrageous ETFs and new financial products and new lending programs? Well, we won't do that in the US. We'll send Brian Armstrong to Argentina. Ripple and XRP has always been someone talking about the new SWIFT, the new ACH, a new better way of faster banking. But now there's an article about the Ripple guys going down and testing the first Ripple, which is also called XRP, ETF in Brazil. And now Brazil happens to be one of the BRIC countries, right? So now you're seeing, okay, Brazil is a country that traditionally has been under United States sanctions. And now we have an American cryptocurrency that just got the first okay to launch as a spot ETF in Brazil, not in the United States. Like, isn't it so interesting that all of these American cryptocurrency companies, which are going to be the coin, the value that powers AI globally, they're testing all of these new, very risky products, as we've seen in Argentina with this like big rug pull accusation, risky products in countries that themselves are high risk countries just to even travel in, much less like put your money in. And so I think we're going to see, unfortunately, the same way that we, drive American barges of trash to other parts of the world to dump our old Tesla batteries and God knows what else into the ground. We're now just driving over and testing what are absolute garbage financial products on meme tokens and unproven blockchains. And we're testing them in foreign countries that already have very sensitive economies that literally at any moment could just bottom out. But maybe that's the rationale. As I say all that, I'm thinking, well, gosh, if your economy is already in the trash, then if it bottoms out, it's still in the trash. So maybe it's like same. No one even notices if you're going down and like testing the latest blank coin in, you pick it in Africa, in the South America, in Central America. Like we're economic hitmanning, testing new financial stuff everywhere but the US. That to me says something about there's AI at work trying to find those sweet spot markets where the demand is hungry, but the risk to the US is nil. And we can actually test these products and then bring back what works to the US.
A proving ground, if you will. I think that's right. I'm scanning the headlines here and I'm realizing that we missed, I saw it, but a giant story that we haven't talked about yet, which is this Bybit hack of the $1.4 billion. So this was the
The Lazarus Group of North
Yeah,
Korea.
tied to North Korea to exploit and steal 1.4 billion in crypto. I mean, part of the reason I say we didn't talk about it here is I don't understand the multi-sig sort of hack and the way it worked, like the technical implications. So I can't speak to like how this could happen. But that's what I've seen or heard, read about is like apparently it sort of masks the transactions there on a multi-signature wallet, makes you think you're making a $5,000 transaction when in fact it's 5 billion. This also, no doubt, wiped out billions from the market overall. But it does feel a little bit like when you talk about proving ground, we know it's North Korea and the Lazarus Group maybe pushing, literally poking buttons, trying to find holes as this globalization of cryptocurrency happens. I don't know what the most recent. It looks like they're holding a bounty program, so it looks like I guess they may be trying to trace the funds back to figure out, if they can capture some of this back. I don't know if you've got a hot take on this one. I can't believe.
I mean, my hot take on this one too is, well, the Lazarus Group is famous or infamous, as much as any other ransomware terrorist group. They claim to be mostly from North Korea. For every one of our economic hitmen that we digitally send out and our agents, we have to remember that there are foreign interests that have their own version of these economic hitmen. We call them hackers. They might call us hackers. Who knows? There's just the ugly word to describe someone who's really good at using a computer. But the part that to me that seemed very odd is that the CEO of Bybit came out and said, rest assured that all of our funds have been secured. That they're talking about how there's been $1.5 billion that were stolen by this group. But Ben Zhao, the CEO, says, oh no, the cold wallets are secure. And we've reported the cases to the authorities, and we're going to make sure that we make everyone whole again, which is kind of the same narrative we've heard in the wake of the Sam Bankman-Fried collapse of FTX, where it was some number, like I want to say 3 billion or whatever it was. They throw around all the people who got, hurt by that, all the celebrities, but that we've restored the funds by going and looking at other cold wallets and all. However they describe how they restored the money, make it sound like there was nothing lost, even though we just said that another group gained access to all this extra money. So when we hear about things like this, we talk about it on the show, it's hard to separate the signal from the noise in these stories. Because to me, it feels like, well, is this really some exotic hack? Or is there someone who's on the inside at Bybit who is complicit in structuring this? Because apparently they have a way of making 1.5 billion go away, but then restoring it by using these offline cold wallets with their extra currencies and these tokens. They don't really describe how all that is the mechanism that does this, but they basically are like, hey, don't worry, I know the headline says that North Korea just stole all of your money, but they didn't. We have it secured over here. So Michael, is this real value that's stolen, or are these just really good headlines and good ways of manipulating markets and throwing the FUD, like you said? Oh God, if Lazarus Group can come in and hack Ethereum, well then I'm really happy about our digital Bitcoin reserve, because that sounds as strong as Fort Knox. Digital gold.
I was gonna say, or I'm really happy we have all that gold. Oh shit, they stole that too.
There's just a little playing card with an L for Lazarus Group in the empty Fort Knox. I mean, could be, but to me, this is one of those stories where it comes and it goes, because I don't actually believe, and plus they don't even list like who are these people who had left all this money on the exchange who had it stolen, if you just were able to restore it, because that would mean that the people of Bybit, of Ben Zhao and those who run Bybit, must have hundreds of billions of value that they can just say 1.5 went out that way, but don't worry, 1.5 just got put back in. Because if they are the whales that run the exchange, maybe they can make people whole that easily. They control all the keys. It's a very strange story, and it's a very strange world that we're in right now, because you can't see the money. You just read the headline. This much went out, but don't worry. Well, then why should I be worried if we open the door and Fort Knox is empty with gold? Just put more back in. Like that, isn't that how it works? Like, dude, don't you just print more money and buy more gold and put the gold back? Right? That's what that's what the American government does as a CEO for Fort Knox, the way that this guy Ben Zhao did for Bybit. That's why to me it popped, but I'm like, doesn't seem like there's by the end of the article there is no story because there was nothing stolen. Was there? I don't understand, to be honest.
Yeah, I think one to watch, but at the end of the day, we'll wrap it up here. I think a lot of FUD in the market around crypto, stolen funds, $1 billion, gold's gone missing, rug pulls at the international level, price tanking. And my financial advice is when there's blood in the streets, if you're sitting on a pile of cash, now's going to be the time. We're probably not going to see this level maybe for a while. You're going to get this crash, but the moment that the U.S. launches, which we know they're going to, a sovereign wealth fund with a digital assets included in it, there's no doubt in my mind which way that price is going to go. Final thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, I hope once that digital asset reserve is created, we can acquire a little bit of TikTok. We can acquire a little more gold for Fort Knox. And hey, maybe we can acquire Greenland and rename it Red, White, and Blue Land. Wouldn't that be the nice first 3 assets we put in the reserve? I'm going to keep watching that very closely. And I'm going to ask AI if I should buy. And I just did. And it says that while the prices are down, I should. So I'm going to go ahead and buy cryptocurrency this week. And I look forward to talking to you next.
When the fear index is high, that's the time to be greedy.
That's the time to buy.
I'll talk to you next time.
Talk to you next week.
That's all the time we have for this episode of Off the Record, On the Rocks. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. See you next time for more news and all things crypto and Web3.